And they are paired up in our double semifinal coming up next here on the Prime Ticket Network. John and Patrick McEnroe against the teenagers, the challenge of 17-year-old Pete Sampras and 16-year-old Michael Chang. And that should be very interesting indeed. The McEnroes had a tournament victory in 1984 back in Richmond, and so they will be to see what they can do here against the challenge of these teenagers, the Chang and Sampras duo.
Well, McEnroe is one of the greatest doubles players in the history of the game.
That is true.
Right, so now the question is, how well does Patrick play when he's playing with his brother?
Well, you know, McEnroe, in all of his doubles championships, generally has won those championships with Peter Fleming. And then Fleming served as his coach for about a month or so, and they are longtime friends. But now John's playing with Patrick.
You know, John McEnroe always said he plays doubles in major events because it quickens his hands, quickens his reflexes, quickens his footwork. Well, now this is maybe just what he needs, but now he's playing doubles after just beating Agassi.
You know, I've always felt that it was tough for Patrick McEnroe, and he's an outstanding tennis player in his own right, playing up at Stanford, leading them to 2 NCAA championships in '86 and '88, but to play in the shadow of such a famous brother like John.
Well, let's put it this way. Have you ever heard much about John Austin, Tracy's brother, who beat McEnroe twice? I mean, you wouldn't even think the guy existed. Yet he beat McEnroe 2 times. That's tough when you're playing the brother-sister act or brother-brother.
Patrick McEnroe is 22 years old, and prior to this match, I had a chance to catch up with him and talk to him about what it's like playing with the famous John McEnroe. Patrick McEnroe, what is it like to play doubles with John?
Well, it's a pleasure. It's to play with someone that can hit the shots that he can and do the things that he can do is really a great thrill. And when he's your brother, it makes it even more special.
You two really get along that well?
Yeah, we get along well. We have a good time when we play, and we haven't played too much together, and we've played a couple tournaments recently, and it takes a little while to get used to each other and kind of the way we are on the court. But we get along really well, and he supports me a lot.
If you goof up and miss a shot that you should make, will he let you know about it?
He won't be too bad about it, maybe a little bit, but we have fun, and we try to be lighthearted out there.
Do you use a lot of signals up there when you're going to poach and things like that?
No, we don't use any. John's never really been into that too much, so we just go and just do whatever feels natural.
When did you first start playing doubles together?
We played one time back about 5 years ago, actually, a tournament in Virginia, which we won when I was still in high school. So that was kind of fun, and we played a little bit last summer and played a tournament a couple weeks ago in Detroit.
Now, when you were youngsters and just learning this game, would you play then once in a while?
A little bit, but he's much older than I am, so he was always...
much older?
He was
all
always,
of 6 years, huh?
Actually, almost 8. Actually,
almost 8?
7.5, almost 8. And so he was so much older than me that we didn't start playing together until maybe I was about 16. Then I could keep up a little bit with him.
Would you get together and play singles against one another?
Sure, we practice a lot together, and I've taken many beatings over the last 6-7 years.
Have you ever beaten John?
Maybe once or twice. Maybe I took a set, but not too often. He doesn't like to lose to his little brother too much.
You helped Stanford win the NCAA championship in '88 and again in '86. Has it always been a case of Patrick McEnroe being in the shadow of the famous John?
Well, I think one of the things that was great about Stanford was that I was more kind of my own person there and recognized for myself and for what I did for the team and for the university. And that was great for me, because certainly when I play professionally or out on the circuit, I'm more known for who my brother is and for who I am, and that's natural. That's just the way it is. And but that was one thing I really liked about being at Stanford, was that I had my friends around, and I was recognized more for what I did for the team and for the other guys in the team, rather than for who my brother was.
Patrick McEnroe, you guys are in tough against Michael Chang and Pete Sampras. I mean, these kids can play.
These guys are great players, and they're people talk about the future of American tennis, and I think these two guys are definitely part of that picture, and they both can play, and it should be fun. I think we'll have a good time, and it should be a fun match.
One quick question. The future in tennis of Patrick McEnroe?
That's a good question. My mother keeps asking me that when I'm going to go to law school or something, but We'll see. I just started playing on the circuit in July, and I'm going to give myself a shot and see how I can do. I've done pretty well in doubles, and if I can do a little better in singles, then maybe I'll stay around for a little longer.
Thank you for the visit.
Thank you.
Those are the comments we got from Patrick McEnroe right prior to the start of the action here tonight at the Great Western Forum. And by the way, there is a third McEnroe, Mark McEnroe, who is in his last year at law school at Fordham University.
Well, you know what I like about Patrick? He's always handled himself well, but he never comes on and says, Mom likes him better than me, and stuff like that.
Like the Smothers Brothers.
A lot of class, I think.
Yes, indeed. I'm anxious to see how they play against Chang and Sampras. On the other hand, how Chang and Sampras can play against them, too.
Well, you know, Chang and Sampras are like a bunch of little kids, and they played together twice, and they were looking forward to this so much. They were talking in the stands like they're still going to play their idols tonight.
Sure. Well, of course, one thing about Chang, he said when he goes up against the veteran players, he said, I am never intimidated by any of the greats. And he's just 16. It's a great statement for him to make.
Well, he's still just happy to be alive. You know, I like guys like that. He just wants to get out there and enjoy the game. He says, isn't that wonderful? Just see a couple of those volleys. He's talking like he's not in the top 20 or so in the world.
Well, we're getting ready for the match now. The McEnroe brothers against Michael Chang and Pete Sampras. And we'll be back with all of the action here on the Prime Ticket Network from the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, California. Be 15, 20 minutes and get back out there, and you know what they say, you're only as good as your last performance.
Yeah, but that's when you've lost. But when you've won, you're pretty darn loose. And when you're playing with your brother, you know, I think you could have a heck of a lot of fun. It's something to write home about.
The big difference in playing singles and doubles, of course.
Well, not for McEnroe. He's won so many Wimbledon titles. And speaking of Wimbledon, he's made a comment he would even like to get rid of the grass in Wimbledon.
Yes,
he's still kicking up his heels, buddy.
He said that yesterday. He said, I hope that they get rid of the grass. But he did praise the English fans. He said they are the best tennis fans in the world.
Well, I'm glad he said that, because the Queen dropped dead after the first statement. And
get rid of the grass at Wimbledon.
She came back to life.
Well, you know, he says that with the advent of the new rackets, the new tennis rackets, we're talking about John McEnroe and his comments about Wimbledon. With the advent of these new ceramic rackets, they are so quick and they are so powerful. He says the grass and the combination of the grass and the new rackets, it makes it such a quick game that the best players are no longer winning Wimbledon.
Well, I find it's an inverse relationship. As the ball seems to go faster as you start getting older. So when you're coming closer to 30, it looks like the balls are coming off twice as fast as they used to. So I'm not so sure that that's a valid argument. Maybe it is for him. I think the fact that the grass was bad at Wimbledon, and more across the country now, you're starting to see synthetic surfaces. They don't want to have a bad bounce decide who's the best player in the world. How many people are waiting to see the match? He's going to pace himself, and that's what you do when you win.
Now, how much time will they allow him to warm up?
Well, I think they should give him at least 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Hit one and go, huh?
Well, he should be ready. I've seen him come in on a situation like this, hit just a couple balls and say, let's go.
Looks like we're getting ready to go.
Well, he's really saying, basically, I'll control this match.
He did control the first match, didn't he?
Yeah.
Coming back to beat Agassi in that third set.
And if you haven't seen Patrick McEnroe play, you're in for a pleasant surprise. He really plays fine tennis.
Okay, here we go now. What was that, Vic?
I said, John looks like he's giving a little look like he was tired in there. He must have taken a nap. I don't think John would like to lose with his brother. I think he'd like to send a message out to these young kids. You know, it can work against Sampras and Chang, waiting like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something you wait,
Yes.
you wait, and you have all the enthusiasm, the adrenaline's flowing, and all of a sudden you wait, and then just about you're ready to go to sleep, he shows up.
Nice cross by Patrick.
Chang has fast hands, but above all, fast feet. Boy, he can really move.
Sampras serving.
John slams his racket down. Says,
Come on, get with it.
Don't be a toad, brother. That's cute.
Remember I asked him in that little interview we had, I said, if you goof up on a shot, does John let you know about it? He said, oh, he's not bad about it. And he wasn't.
Patrick sounds just like John, doesn't he? Voice.
John's voice is a little higher pitched. Yeah, right through there. Sampras up 40-30.
Nice serve by Pete Sampras. Kid shows me a lot.
Pete's just 17. His older sister, Stella, is a sophomore at UCLA, and Stella teamed up with Allison Cooper to win the NCAA Women's Doubles Championship last May.
You know, Michael, last night when I was interviewing Pete Sampras after he was up 4-11, lost to Agassi, Agassi threw his shirt in the stands, and I said, you think you'll ever do that someday? He says, I hope so. I couldn't believe it. I hope so. I hope someday I can take my shirt off and throw it in the stands. That was cute. Nice sense of humor.
Yes, indeed. Pete Sampras and Michael Chang against Patrick McEnroe and John. Patrick is 22. He will celebrate his 23rd birthday early in July, July the 7th. Current ranking in doubles, 25th. And he's won pretty good money this year. $41,000. Hasn't really played all of that much, but $41,000 isn't bad to put into the bank.
You know, I really take my hat off to the Disney organization. They helped tennis a lot. They had a tournament called Sport Goofy, and 3 years ago, Michael Chang was in the 14 and under in Sport Goofy.
Chang wouldn't even look at McEnroe. No, I'm not going to look up.
You don't want to look up. You don't want to look the look on his face. Look at this.
Boy, did he squirt that with an angle.
I don't think Mac will be serving quite that way anymore. It's a great opportunity for Sampras and Chang to get a nice crowd at home doubles against Mac, who's won some Wimbledon championships. You get a feeling of what it's all about. Chang is so fast. Just imagine, all he's got to do is just get a little bit more solid, cut down the airs, and then he's playing Lindo close. Nice shot, Patrick.
The move by Pat McEnroe. Trying to get adjusted to the lights here at the Great Western Forum.
Pete Sampras has a fine service return.
Games are even, one apiece.
You know, Michael, I get some letters once in a while saying, Vic, you're always saying you can't serve well with the palm up when you're going back on the serve. But John McEnroe does, and he has a great serve. But, you know, when we'll get a chance, I'll take a look at McEnroe's serve, and I'll show you that halfway through, he turns it around and puts the palm back down again. But he does give you the look that he does everything the opposite that I've said, but I think we can show you that it'll be a little different than what you might think. Great play. Great play.
Patrick scooped it up, but then Chang spiked it.
Good movement. John starting to get his good tough spin back again. Chang fast. Good move by Patrick, and
Bang.
Then they eat it. Check. Starting to get a little showman stuff out there. Reminded of what Mrs. Chang said last night. Something about the brother act. Michael's brother Carl, she said, can still beat Michael.
Carl is a sophomore on the Cal tennis team up in Berkeley.
Good move.
Chang and Sampras. Everybody's been able to hold serve so far. It's 2-1 for the teenagers over the McEnroe brothers.
Had that gone in, could have just about been passed. I want to give you a little instructional tip. Get a 3x5 card out, and I'll show you how to really understand doubles. Good shot.
3x5 card.
Yep. You take a little card and you just put it over your favorite player and only watch the lower part of the body and just follow it along the set. And when you do that, you'll find out where they move, how fast they move, what their feet are doing. Then watch the upper body, but you'll get more cues watching lower body. As my old basketball coach Paul Seymour used to say, watch their belt buckle. People never run without their pants.
People never run without their pants.
Yeah, you follow the belt buckle, they always go where the pants go.
What if you don't have a belt buckle?
Yeah, well, look at the navel.
It's out, love 40.
I tell you, when you put a 3x5 card over just at the waist of your favorite player, you'll see that the feet are moving all the time. 6 feet, 158 pounds. I weigh that much in the right thigh. Double fault.
It's a love game on the service break for Chang and Sampras. 3-1 lead for the teenagers. Patrick said, what did I do wrong? Double faulted.
Patrick's played a lot of tennis. You know, people have a tendency to, because they don't hear his name, to think that maybe he's not out there playing. He's playing a lot of major events.
Dick Gould has great success up there, doesn't he?
Sure does.
With that tennis program at Stanford.
And he goes after people with class, and that's how I feel about Patrick. He's got lots of class, I think.
Nice touch, John. Love 30. And the same can be said for Glenn Bassett at UCLA, Alan Fox, Pepperdine, Dick Leach, USC. The collegiate tennis in this area is fantastic.
Well, good coaches. Bassett was my former doubles player. Alan and I, doubles partner. Alan and I played a lot of tennis back in the 50s, and he's a young kid coming up. He's got a new book coming out. He writes nice books, so watch out for Alan Fox's book. It's going to be a Lulu.
On tennis?
Yep.
How to?
Yep. I won't give you all the secrets. He's a good writer, a good thinker, clinical psychologist, and he produces champions.
Have you ever read the book that Eli Nastasi wrote? Fiction.
Yeah, well, I saw it. I read 2 or 3 pages. It was a little tough for me.
2 or 3 pages.
Oh,
Look at that behind the back. Out, but cute nonetheless.
You watch the reflexes. Good shot by Patrick. Too tough. Good serve. Boy, that's nice motion. I'm impressed with Pete Sampras. I think this youngster, keep an eye on him. The strokes are clean, volleys well. He has a very strong backhand chip shot, which means that he can get into the net behind some real force. Laver and Rosewall had really, it's kind of reminiscent of those 2 guys.
An ace by Sampras. Sampras has brought him back. They were down love 40. Now it's deuce.
I wonder what's going to happen to him in his upper body, though. If he's going to get a little stronger. Look at the footwork on back. Just caught frozen with his feet.
Advantage to Sampras. You advise Pete to work out with weights?
I advise anybody. Martina, Chris Everett, all work down on weights. Why I think you need strong body and flexibility is that one of the things that hampers top players is they very often become injured because they're not physically strong enough to withstand when they land wrong on the court. Why you stay in shape, it isn't for the normal tennis movements. It's when you make abnormal movements. You come down on the wrong leg when you're going up for an overhead. You stretch for a volley, and all of a sudden you hear that Achilles pop or something. So it's keeping you in there for a long time. Good shot.
No motion there. John just put the racket out, arm firm.
So critical that when you're volleying, there's where strength comes in, too. And Mac has been working on weight, so he's stronger. Like that, right there, perfect example. There's easily, at times, 400 pounds of force against a racket. Well, you come up with a puny little arm, you're going to pay the price.
Sampras keeps fighting off the ads.
Give credit to Mac. That's a nice service return. If you watch Pete Sampras, once he starts his service motion, he starts picking up speed. He doesn't go halfway through and then drop the elbow and pause. Whatever energy he gets, once he starts, he gets it in there. He goes,
and John puts it away. So the McEnroe brothers get a service break. Sampras and Chang up 3-2 in the first set. Best of 3. Has already done his work in the singles, defeating Andre Agassi 2-6, 6-2, 6-2, and that puts this man, John McEnroe, into the finals against Ivan Lendl tomorrow. We'll have it for you on delay on the Prime Ticket Network at 7:30. And in the consolation, Michael Chang will meet up with Andre Agassi.
Tough shot. Well, that shows me some class. Chang he did not read the return well, and he recovered very rapidly, and then in the last instant, hit down the line rather than cross court. Fake Patrick out.
What about McEnroe's service, Vic Braden?
Well, see, he puts the palm up, and now watch, it'll turn over and go the other way. See, right there. He doesn't leave the palm up that most people think. You get tricked. The movement's faster than the human eye can record, but not faster than a Prime Ticket cameraman.
As long as John is serving that way, Patrick's having a good time up at the net. Overhead by Patrick. McEnroes don't use any signals at all, whether they're going to stay or poach or pull any sort of a formation. Makes it simple.
Well, it makes it simple. Some people feel comfortable. It's whatever you feel comfortable with.
In other words, some players just say, look, if you think you can get it, go. You know what points you need to poach on. You know if the service return hits a particular spot, you're going to go. Other players are much more comfortable knowing precisely what their partner's going to do.
Game to McEnroe. John McEnroe. It's tied at 3.
But you know, Michael, one of the things that happens when you first start teaching the intermediates to signal, they get so wrapped up in the signal that they can hardly play the game, and so they get very confused by it. So, yeah. But I've seen the very best players in the world, Flock and Segusa, #1 team in the world, signal all the time. Stan Smith and Bobby Lutz.
You know, the doubles team playing well right now is Rick Leach and Jimmy Pugh. They won a big match today over in London.
Well, that's good because they had lost one of the first ones. They lost to a Swedish team, if I'm not mistaken.
Michael Chang from Placentia, California. 16-year-old Chinese-American. Wham! Pete Sampras with the overhead.
Nice overhead, too, isn't it? Watch Pete move. There's good hands. Everybody's out in front. Pete up in the air. Now watch him scissor kick. When you go up in the air like that, you very often kick your feet so that you can get some force into the forearm.
Some returned by Patrick McEnroe. Chang was charging to the net. McEnroe, Patrick that is, just hit too good of a shot. Would you say you've got Big Mac and Little Mac there tonight?
Didn't move Patrick, but I think you're in trouble.
Chang puts it away.
See, Patrick made a good move, but he moved straight across parallel to the net rather than diagonally, and so the ball got low. He's in deep trouble when you're playing people that fast. I got a better one for you. My 3 brothers and I are all 2 years apart, going all the way down in 1 year in little town of Monroe, Michigan. It was Braden and Braden versus Braden and Braden in the finals. How do you like that one?
Poor announcer that had to call that one.
Yeah. Are you kidding? In that hometown, there are only 17 people in the city.
Don't you have a local radio station?
Yeah. 2 left-handers, 2 right-handers.
You were right-handed, right?
Yep. Nice play, Pat. Boy, that's a well-disguised shot. It's not so easy to do. He makes it look easy. Look at that. That's dynamite. Oh, no, Michael. I haven't seen you float like that. Your hands went to sleep. You can't do that when you're playing good players.
Service break, so the McEnroe brothers take a 4-3 lead over Michael Chang and Pete Sampras. 3 in the first set, and Patrick to serve.
Patrick having a little trouble. He's not out there very far in front. Get another foot or so out there, in my opinion. Minimum. Michael's not intimidated by John. And even though John's left-handed, he went right down that alley, faked him out, and went for it. Boy, the ball doesn't care. If you're 16, 18, 30, you do the right thing, you get the right result. Execution, that's the name of the game.
That's what my old buddy says down at Deep Canyon Tennis Club. Frank Feltrop. Still playing at somewhere between 70 and 80. So don't you give away my age.
Service ace, that's his first one. WTC Richmond.
And then, a couple of months ago, Patrick teamed up with his former Stanford teammate, Jim Grab, who won a tournament up in the Bay Area in doubles.
I don't know what happened to Michael, but that one was out of the state. So critical to get that first serve in.
It is.
In doubles especially.
pickup by John. And Sampras didn't want another part of John, so he says, I better go with Patrick.
I think he's right. Great hands. Good move by John, but he couldn't put the ball away. But watch this move. A little kick off the Buffalo routine. Pete said, I've had enough. You know what's so nice for me, Michael, is to watch Pete and Michael. They have grown so much in stature, style of play. In 1 year, you just can hardly recognize them. They're so different. They've grown a lot. And
hard for you to believe they're 16 and 17 years old, but so mature for that age. So the McEnroes, Patrick and John, take a 5-3 lead in the first set.
You know, as a parent, you worry and you tell your 16-year-old, get in early, you know, and what do you say to these kids? They're playing in Austria, Germany, Japan. You have a lot of confidence in your youngsters.
Well, Michael Chang has won over 139,000 this year.
John, not quite the same words that he's using now that he normally uses.
Complaining about the service and the call.
But in a friendly little way. Boy, John does that well.
Yes, and he didn't overhit. Punched it right down the middle.
You know, there are 3 reasons why you go down the middle in tennis. The net's lower. You reduce the angle that people can hit the ball back, and players may clash rackets. Good ace. He ace shot. He gets him twice. All right, let's see what John says about that. Nothing. I tell you, when you're out there serving, it's really nice to ace a guy like John. Gives you a lift.
Well, we got a good lineup tomorrow, haven't we? With Agassi going up against Chang in the consolation singles, followed by Ivan Lendl and John McEnroe. Looking forward to that.
Mac almost made that play. It's about 4 hits in just about a second. Count 1,001 in their 4 shots.
Nice touch by Michael Chang. Sampras and Chang made that look easy. But it'll be up to John McEnroe to serve out the first set when we return to singles player. And he certainly is #1 in the world 4 times, but he has done a job in doubles as well, showing they have new balls. Anyway, John McEnroe has won 7 Grand Slam singles titles and 7 Grand Slam doubles titles, all with Peter Fleming. John's been ranked #1 in the world in doubles 5 times.
Ooh, that was close. Pete Sampras nailed it.
I like Sampras' all-around play, but I especially like his backhand. Does he remind you of Elliot Telcher, the way Elliot used to hit that backhand?
Yep. Patrick. John's going to write home about that kind of stuff, buddy.
There is a third McEnroe, Mark, who was in his 3rd and last year of law school at Fordham. Can Chang catch up with it?
No.
And it's out. It's out.
Oh, yeah. had to play. Boy, is he fast. He is fast. He flies. Air Chang. Look at that.
Ball just was out. I thought that ball was out, and Patrick took a swipe at it anyway and put it away.
Patrick said, I've had enough. Big set point right now for Mac and Mac.
The ball boy started out, and McEnroe was going to slam it back and thought better of it. Patrick backed off in a hurry. So the put away by John McEnroe, and the first set is history. Patrick and John 6-4 over Chang and Sampras.
Well, you can tell who feels who has the better serve, because Sampras had been serving on the other side. So Michael's saying, go ahead, serve him up, baby. I like the way you hit it. Michael hugs that sideline more than most players. You're at the net.
Patrick would like to have that back. It was last March that Pete Sampras made a splash for himself down at the $700,000 tournament. Champions at Indian Wells. Sampras thought he had it.
Yours. Look at Michael. Michael was there for that ball. Boy, he is one fast dude. Now keep your eye on Michael. This is a good return. It's a leg cord. But watch how Michael reads the shot. Look at, he's already on the move. Goodness gracious, that is class.
Very intelligent.
Well, that's a sixth sense. You gotta love that. That'll hold you in great stead.
No fault.
Michael, there's a player, I won't tell you his name, but I'll let you guess, but there's a player who scored the worst in hand-eye coordination and was a Wimbledon winner, but scored the best in anticipation. It only shows you that if you're a great anticipator, even though you maybe don't have the hand-eye coordination, you can pick up a lot of milliseconds having that sixth sense where the ball's going to go.
John can't catch up with that one. Game to beat Sampras in back-to-back. Says, I got to take the shortcut getting across the net.
Did you see how... Oh, that's cute.
McEnroe providing comic relief here as he delivers the point. Can't catch up with it. And then whoops and tipsy 4, even though they didn't have a good first serve percentage. Patrick McEnroe serving.
Well, Patrick has been wild on that first serve.
Got to come back to the remark you were making earlier about hand-eye coordination, a Wimbledon winner. Well, I don't know the answer, but I'll take a guess. Jimmy Connors.
I'm not. You think I'm going to tell you on?
Well, then why did you even bring it up? I thought we had a good story going there.
Not allowed to give out that data.
But a Wimbledon winner, what year?
Well, my intellectual functioning levels are a little higher than that, Michael. Let's get back and see if we can get Patrick McEnroe a serve here.
15:30.
When that ball's going long, it's usually a good indicator that you're not, or a good indication that you're not far enough out in front.
John was the most surprised guy to see that overhead coming right back at him.
30.
Right at Patrick.
Smart play. You go at the right hip of a right-handed player and the left hip of a left-handed player. It's just hard for them to hit a backhand or a forehand.
Sampras and Chang a point away from a service break here, taking a 2-love lead in the second. They lost the first 6-4.
Game, Chang Sampras, leading 2-0.
Well, hang in there, folks.
Sampras and Chang.
They don't want to go home.
And Chang will be serving.
Let's see what Mac does to the service return. Because he'll be playing this guy in singles a lot. So it gives him a good chance to take a look.
I don't know whether Patrick should have been poaching on that.
Well, that's where you don't, if you don't make signals, Patrick says, I think I can make it. But actually, Michael hit a very good shot. Patrick was one step behind.
Got to take everything you feel that you can get.
I think Patrick has a fast first step. Look at that play by Michael.
Almost on his knees.
Yesterday, when we were doing the show, if you saw it, our cameraman did a shot on the footwork of Michael Chang, our camera people. We have some unbelievable shot showing what the feet go through. There's somebody who puts it through, and you have a tendency to think the shoe just stays very nice, but the shoe takes a tremendous beating. Mac plays that well. Gets down classic style. Get down low.
40-15.
I know some, speaking of shoes, some basketball players who go through a pair of basketball shoes once every 2 weeks.
Well, I got news for you. Jimmy Connors has 365 pair of Converse shoes a year. Plays a new pair of shoes every day. Nice play.
Great point.
Oh.
But you see, at that point where Sampras hit it, it's the highest point of the net, 3 feet 6.
40-30.
Well, that's a nice play. Good hands.
An ace by Michael Chang. So Chang and Sampras, nothing to it in this second set. A 3-love lead over Patrick and John McEnroe. Chang against Andre Agassi, followed by the championship, Ivan Lendl and John McEnroe. And we will have those matches for you on a tape delay basis at 7:30 on the Prime Ticket Network. And the third match of the afternoon here at the Forum will be the doubles championship. First prize in the singles, $100,000.
Don't know what that sound was.
Someone stepping on a paper cup.
That's that.
30.
It's an unforced error. You know, what's really nice is Dan Cole, our statistician, fine tennis pro in his own right. It's really nice when you know you're getting good data.
He's a tennis pro at Beverly Hills.
Don't give him a big hit.
Trying to get a free lesson. Chang really wound up. Fired that baby.
Look at that. Boy, I tell you.
Reflex action.
It stings. I've seen people get knocked out. I think the greatest thing I ever saw, though, was the time that Hewitt put a tennis ball in his mouth. He was so angry. Squeezed it and put it in his mouth, and then he couldn't get it out of his mouth. Tell you, boy, these people were really scrambling that thing. Because once you're angry, you can do all kinds of things. But then Life magazine, I remember, ran the picture of it. Hewitt was very funny, and he would get just storming. He would be so angry. But then when the anger wore off, he couldn't get the ball out of his mouth. They had to go out there with a knife, have him hold really still while they punched a hole in the ball, and they could squeeze it and get it out. But he was in real pain. He looked funny.
Felt funny.
15.
Patrick and John McEnroe, 6-4 in the first. But Sampras and Chang with a 3-1 lead here in the second set.
Boy, that's dynamite. Tough looking serve.
Ace by Sampras. That's his fourth. Or fourth for the team, I should say. Sampras has had 3, Chang 1.
Watch Pete Sampras' head when he serves. Keep that head up and watch that arm pass through. Keeps it up there. Boy, that's important.
Sampras having great success with his service tonight. 4-1 lead for Pete Sampras and Michael Chang over John McEnroe and his brother Patrick. Chang wants a second and third look at that. Second ace for the McEnroes. 40-30. So the McEnroes are still alive in this set. It's a 4-2 lead for Sampras and Chang.
Well, there's only one service break out of this. It's at 4-2. Max says, hey, come on. I want to get home to my family.
Out in Malibu. And his 2 sons, Kevin John, 2.5. Sean Timothy, 14 months old. I think Sampras expected that right down the line.
Oh, 2 good service returns. Watch now, he just throttles that. It's a nice play. So hard to do. That ball is traveling so fast. So I like to have my students watch these great doubles players. Just pick out one player and watch him. Pretend like you're on that side. You can really learn a lot. nice serve. Michael has really improved his serve. His motion, he used to pause halfway through the swing. He's got a much more continuous motion now.
More velocity as well.
Right, well, that's what happens. You start off and you keep the swing going the way Sampras does. You get a lot of power. So you got a slight pause in there, which Sampras does not have. If you pause a little bit, then you got to really fire those muscles hard.
Famous behind the back shot didn't work.
Got it back, but he took gas. Take a look now. You get some really loves it. Showman.
And it's in. Patrick really had to get over there to cover court. Scooped it up and over the head of Michael Chang. So a service break, so the McEnroes are right back in this now. It's a 4-3 lead for... He drilled that serve all right, didn't he?
Sure did. Tired of these young upstarts.
Actually, this match, even though a 4-1 lead for Sampras has disappeared, it's right on serve.
When you hear a player grunt just before they volley, I got to believe that you don't feel like they're in great position for the shot. See where Mac goes with this one. Same place. He was going to go right into the forehand. So interesting. Mac stands way over on the right. You would think he would take advantage of that left-handed slice down the middle.
Got a break point coming up here. Sampras can't take advantage.
Just can't quite get far enough out in front. He's getting nailed on the back foot. I'd take a lesson from Borg if I were Sampras. If he's getting caught in the back foot, Bjorn used to stay further back, but then he'd start moving in, start moving forward.
John yelled mine, and he made sure.
McEnroe is really a perfect opponent for Lindell in tomorrow's finals. He's 1-1 here at the Forum in the last year.
Isn't it amazing, though? They have played 28 times, 14 victories for McEnroe, 14 for Lindell. Game 2, John McEnroe. And that pulls the McEnroes even with Chang and Sampras 4 apiece.
You know, when Mac plays Lindell, it's very interesting, but Agassi hits the ball harder than Lindell. But Lindell keeps the ball in play more. So Mac won't get pushed off the court as much, but he'll be in for a real tough, long battle. You'll have to be able to stay out there on that court play because Lindell will just grind you down. He's a beautiful stroking machine. Nice play, John. Good hands. Patrick can't put it together.
In case you're just joining us on the telecast, this is Mike Walden and Vic Brayton. Double semifinals, the McEnroe brothers, John and Patrick, against Michael Chang and Pete Sampras. And earlier today, Lindell won in 3 sets over Chang. in the semifinals, 6-2, 3-6, 6-1. And then McEnroe had to come from behind after dropping the first set to win the next two to knock off Andre Agassi.
Smart play by Patrick. Big play, too. Took the center. Smart move. So many intermediate players continually try to go down the line.
Service has been a good weapon for Pete Sampras. Was last night in his 3-set loss to Agassi, and it has been tonight in the doubles. Oh, it's out. Game 2, Pete Sampras. And Sampras and Chang on top now 5-4 in the second set. Serve to see if he can keep the McEnroe tandem right on line here and even in this match. If he doesn't, we go to a third set.
And Patrick been having some problems on his first serve, so let's see if he can lay it in there. He does.
And he puts it home.
I think it's great you can play with your brother. That's super.
Is that any different from playing with your wife in mixed doubles?
If you can't tell the difference, buddy,
Well, I don't think. I'm saying that husband and wife team often do not play well in mixed doubles, and the brothers sometimes do not play well together.
I'm only teasing you, Mike.
I know what you're doing.
I know your wife dumped you in doubles a long time ago.
You know the full story, huh?
Yep.
Well, it's the truth.
Boy, the diehards stay right there. It's wonderful to see. Nice, Patrick.
Backhanded volley, 40 love.
Well, if Patrick wins this, they got a good shot at Michael Chang.
And then John could serve for the match.
Right.
Nice touch, John McEnroe. Game to Patrick and John. Even Steven, 5-all in the second set.
Boy, John McEnroe really shows you that all you have to do is point that racket where you want the ball to go. Don't have a big, long stroke on the volley. Don't try to do too much. Young kids, it's cute, isn't it? Truant officers out in the stands. Want to know where these guys are and why they're not back in school. They're out buying property.
Michael Chang, who is serving right now, has already graduated from high school. He's just 16. First John called off Patrick, but it was Patrick to close it off.
Patrick a little stiff. Actually, I think there's a little pressure on him. He'd like to throw in a good service return. He does, too. Beauty. Beauty. Boy, that's a class shot. Now he puts a little pressure on his older brother. I wouldn't say that was the best offensive line I've ever seen.
But did you see Michael Chang's eyes light up? Almost a tilt when he saw that coming up.
Look at these guys. They're still out there strategizing. Pete says, come on, we can beat these toads. Oh, too bad.
Long time to move, Pete Sampras.
Well, he needed a little bit earlier step, but he got a faster step.
Looked like the return, though, by Patrick was going out
That's
anyway.
just what I was going to say, Michael. I thought that thing was going out, and Pete bit on a ball.
$15.40.
John, 1540. He says, hey, get with it. He knew he threw up a bad one. He's trying to give a little finesse shot.
Michael Chang made him pay.
Yep. Well, let's see if Patrick can bail his brother out. Tough shot. Jeez, that's tough.
That was that, too.
Yeah.
So a break for the McEnroes. And it's 6-5, Patrick and John will be serving for the match. 10-year-old John McEnroe to see if he can nail this one down for the family. John will take a peek and stare at the tee.
You know, you gotta be careful. You come back and double fault, then you'll be into three sets. Got to get your concentration back.
Yeah, John wants to go home. He's not going to fool around. This may be the last time you're going to see, in fact, it will be, the last time you'll see John McEnroe on a tennis court before he goes to Australia. See if he can win the Australian Open.
In the last tournament, because we're going to see him tomorrow night.
Correct.
There's going to be a lot of people want to see him tomorrow night against Lindell. Out.
So the brothers, the McEnroe duo, just 2 points away from wrapping this one up. Looked like they were going to go down in flames in the second set. They were down 4-1, but then able to turn it around. Now just a point away.
Patrick McEnroe started returning serve very well.
Triple match point. Patrick gets it up.
Patrick's feet went to sleep, and he knows he's still yawning.
Well, they go to bed early up at Stanford. Still in play. Still in play. And will it drop in? No. Good way to wind it up. Patrick and John McEnroe, 6-4, 7-5 over Sampras and Chang. We'll be back with some final comments about the action here tonight. Family, Patrick and John, and a big night for John McEnroe because he won earlier tonight in 3 sets over Andre Agassi, and that sets up the champ.